It's just a matter of weeks before the unique interstellar comet known as 3I Atlas is expected to pass closest to the sun. 3I Atlas is actually some type of alien technology.
There are mysteries in the cosmos we may never be built to grasp, and we just got a brutal reminder. 3I Atlas, an interstellar wanderer. We expected to study like any other comet, started as a promise of pure science. As it drew near, its true character emerged. 4 of our most capable eyes on the sky watched together while the visitor shifted into a violent scarlet gleam, a shade that doesn't belong in standard astronomy. This wasn't a find, it was a wake-up. And the U.S. Space Force is now contemplating a scenario that, until days ago, lived only in speculative fiction. Blood red warning in space. Space usually plays by familiar rules. Comets tend toward pale greens and blues. Asteroids are sable or ash stars burned with predictable hues. Then came a day that will echo through classified briefings for years. The rules bent and then snapped. The saga began when 3I Atlas was cataloged last year as the 3rd confirmed interstellar object. A stranger cutting through our neighborhood. For months it acted by the book, a dim, foggy smear racing along at roughly 100,000 miles per hour, brightening gradually as solar light worked its magic. Astronomers were ecstatic. Here was a chance to sample the detritus of another sun. Then everything swerved. Spitzer, our veteran infrared observatory, flagged a sudden sharp rise in heat from deep inside the nucleus. Odd but not impossible, comets crack, outgas, and flare. What followed obliterated normal. The James Webb Space Telescope reported that the coma, the glowing atmosphere around the object, was changing shade. The usual cyan cast, driven by sunlight, exciting diatomic carbon, fell away. In its place bloomed a deep, throbbing crimson. In astronomy, red can signal many things: complex organics, extreme velocity, or redshift. But this tone was too clean, too even, as if a switch had been thrown. Teams moved to eliminate instrument error. Hubble spun to the target. Its pinpoint vision matched Webb. Kepler, long past its original mission, but still capable of photometry, tracked the light curve. All 4 agreed. 3I Atlas was no longer merely reflecting sunlight. It was radiating a blood-red beacon of its own, and the radiance wasn't constant. It came in a repeating cadence, a precise, complex throb, every 84.6 seconds, like a mechanical heart. That's not how nature usually blinks. The room didn't erupt, but the air changed. This was no dirty snowball. Something had worn a comet costume until it didn't need it anymore, siphoning energy from the sun, revealing itself, and beginning to transmit. The feed leapt beyond NASA to Vandenberg Space Force Base. When an interstellar body ignites a pulsing scarlet lantern, you stop treating it as a curiosity and start thinking security. It isn't a comet project, Icarus. With the data locked in, the mission shifted. This was no longer astronomy solo. Defense analysts and signal specialists took the mic. The U.S. Space Force, created for exactly such edge case threats, spun up a classified cell within hours. Codename, Project Icarus. Mandate, identify what 3I Atlas is, why it's broadcasting, and whether we're in danger. First target, the pulse train. A clock-true period of 84.6 seconds rarely occurs by chance. Natural objects wobble, precess, and flicker irregularly. This signal kept military time. The NSA's deepest code rooms were tapped. Their experts, more at home with intercepted comms than celestial photons, began hunting structure and light. They found it. Each heartbeat wasn't a simple flash. It contained layers of high-frequency microfluctuations. A data stream nested inside the main beam, like a whole archive encoded in a single syllable. The problem, no decoder ring. The grammar seemed to be written in physics we're only starting to touch. Meanwhile, USSF pointed everything at the target, including the space surveillance network, the worldwide web of radars and telescopes that watch orbital junk and satellites. They needed dimensions, shape, material hints. The returns made as little sense as the color. Estimates put the object at about 2 miles long, a needle-thin, glass-like sliver. Radar behavior, however, was bizarre. Sometimes it drank up signals like a stealth airframe. Other times it threw back radar with absurd intensity. Then came the thermal readouts. While the skin glared red hot, the interior hung around 3 Kelvin above absolute zero, roughly minus 454 degrees Fahrenheit. A bright outer shell with a near-frozen core defies basic thermodynamics. It's like standing beside a blazing fireplace and finding the logs ice-cold inside. That single contradiction stiffened every back in the room. This wasn't more advanced human tech. It implied a different playbook, entirely a way of shaping energy and matter that doesn't fit our equations. The question pivoted from, what's the message, to what capabilities are we staring at? The Pentagon's unblinking watch. With decryption stalled, Icarus reoriented from interpretation to preparation. Understanding the contents of the signal could wait. Understanding the sender couldn't. Top priority, flight path. Where was 3I/Atlas aiming? Early trajectory models predicted a sunswing, by and a long exit back into the deep. But the moment you suspect control, even a minor nudge matters. A continuous global watch was stood up using the largest radio dishes on Earth, scouring for any tele-whisper of propulsion, a featherlight course trim. For weeks, nothing shifted. The track remained comet-like. Relief crept in around the edges. Maybe it was all a rare, natural oddity. The old hands in uniform weren't buying it. If this was a probe, it wouldn't tip its hand until the moment counted. Then a subtle wrong note. As the object glided past Mars' orbit, its velocity didn't damp the way Martian gravity should have tugged it. The expected minute deflection never appeared. For a 2-mile structure, that's not a rounding error. The only clean explanation was disturbing an internal drive field, counteracting gravity. The visitor wasn't just riding celestial currents, it was ignoring them. That crossed a line. Within Icarus, the temperature dropped from uneasy to somber. Our best launchers are still elegant controlled explosions. This thing moved like a shadow through a wall. Quietly, alert levels ticked up. Specialized satellite teams started sketching defenses. How do you intercept an object that weighs the gravity of planets and shrugs? The mission scope widened. Beyond tracking 3I/Atlas, the USSF started raking Earth's skies and sensors for anything unusual, strange radio bursts, out-of-family UAP reports, anything that would suggest a wider pattern. An uncomfortable premise began to take root. Our visitor might be a forerunner. It's tempting to dismiss this as cinema. A disguised intruder, a crimson signal, a black-budget task force. But this isn't about belief. It's about consistent readings from 4 trusted observatories and telemetry that trips over our own laws of heat and motion. Whether we like it or not, the context has shifted. The current ephemeris still carries 3I/Atlas toward perihelion. Afterward, it may slip back into interstellar dark. Few inside Icarus think it will do so quietly. Could a simple natural mechanism still explain everything? Teams are looking. With every passing day, that thread phrase. We're left with a sobering rising probability. Someone or something put a probe in our system possessing capabilities beyond our horizon. It may have drifted for thousands, even millions of years. Now that it's here, it has lit a lamp and said, in effect, notice. Why announce itself? Why now? If its makers can null out gravity and maintain a frozen core inside a radiant shell, they could have stayed invisible. Instead, they chose a bold, unmistakable red and a dense, repeating broadcast. That's intent, not accident. Inside Icarus, the argument has moved past nomenclature. The center of gravity is, what purpose does this serve? Ideas that once belonged to late-night threads now earn whiteboard space. The lighthouse theory holds that the message isn't for us at all. In this telling, 3I/Atlas is an ancient, automated warning, spun up because our system is drifting toward a dangerous patch of the galaxy or because a different, unseen adversary is inbound. The scarlet beam isn't menace. It's a cosmic do not enter. We're just the neighbors who happen to live under the beacon. A darker model, the Harbinger theory, frames the object as a highly sophisticated environmental tool, a terraformer or seed ship. The heat burst and color switch could mark the start of its primary program, releasing swarms of microscale, self-copying machines to nudge our air, seas, or biology toward conditions favorable to future colonists. Under that lens, the red glow becomes the first blush of change. The most disquieting proposal is the litmus test. Here, the makers are observing us now. The comet disguise, the dramatic reveal, the intractable signal. All of it is a controlled experiment in civilizational psychology. How does a species like ours respond to the impossible? With panic, hostility, patience, or curiosity? Is this an opening move toward contact or a measure of whether we're ready for anything further? Tell us what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates as this story evolves.